Hi, Sarah here with Chalk with Sarah, and as promised I'm going to show you how to do a reverse canvas using canvas that you get from any craft store that has the frame already inside of it. And I'm going to be using chalk paste on the transfer, so we're going to end up with a framed piece by the time we're done with all of this. So let me rotate the camera down so we can get a good view of the material I'm working with here. And hopefully that shows up good. These are just some of the things I'm going to be working with. So first of all, I'm going to use a box cutter to cut the canvas off the frame. The scissors I'm going to use to trim the canvas, marker, Sharpie, just to outline the canvas, and I'm going to show you all of this. I've got a big squeegee here. I'm going to show you what this will do for you on this. A couple stirrers for the two chalks I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using teal, and I'm going to be using peachy keen. So those are the two colors I'm going to use for this. And then I have a squeegee to wipe off my excess chalk paste. I have the stencil that I'm going to be using, and I like this one because we have labs and it says be the person your dog thinks you are, and it's geometric, so it's going to just be the outline of the dog. They've got the dog bones, all sorts of stuff, the paw prints up here. This all comes in the one stencil. I haven't used this yet, so I'm kind of excited to see how this turns out. And then I have the canvas that I'm going to cut away. And lastly, what I'm going to be using is, this is an ink mat from Chalk Couture. And it's used to put on fabrics or like the pillows when you're going to use the ink. I'm using chalk today, but what I want to use this for is to hold my canvas. And you'll see when I peel this away, it's very sticky. So it's nice because you can really flatten out the canvas when you're doing these reverse canvases, and it'll hold it in place for you so there's no sliding. I'm going to leave that covered right now for a second, because the first thing I need to do is get the canvas off of its frame. And you could sit here and take out each one of these staples individually. I'm a little lazy that way, and it doesn't get, you don't see this on the back side when you're done. So what I'm going to do is be very careful, because these are sharp. I'm going to cut the canvas off. So I'm just going to take it down on the outside of these. Oops. And maybe I better get rid of my mat first too, because I don't want to put any cuts in that mat. I really like that mat. So we're just going to take this and slice it on each side and do it on the outside of the staples that are already in the back here. And I'm putting a little bit of pressure down on this, so you want to make sure and cut through it. And again, be careful with these box cutters. Okay, now let's see where we're at here. Okay. And all we want to do, and might have to cut a couple more spots, is remove the canvas off of this frame. So you can see it's coming off. Another little cut right here. Yep, they attach this really good to these frames, so. And don't worry about this, because this part that I'm cutting like this, you're gonna see we're gonna get rid of this anyway, so you don't have to be real neat and tidy on the whole thing. Let's see. And it doesn't, like I say, it doesn't take very long. It's just some of these corners, since they're doubled over, you have to go over them a couple times. And I think we're on to the last stretch here. There we go. Okay. So this is the back side of the frame. And what we're going to do is this is going to actually be the front side of the frame. Don't know what this is. Looks like a piece of tape that was on here underneath the canvas. Get rid of that. This is the side that you'll end up painting, and it'll become the frame for your canvas. Now, what I want to do is, we don't have all of this canvas to work with, and there's a little bit of stuff in there. So we only have what's inside the frame for our stencil. So what I will do is put this frame on top of the canvas, and then just take a Sharpie marker, which I have right here, and I'm gonna just outline this frame so then I can cut it with my scissors. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect, because we can trim this down when we're done doing the stenciling. Okay. So now I'm going to just set this frame aside. I'm not going to paint it on this video, but this is the side, again, where you would paint this side. And this side is where you're going to end up attaching the canvas when you're done stenciling it. So I'm going to just set this aside. I'm going to take my scissors and just cut this out now. And I can see this little bit of line here, and you could use that too as a guide. I'm going to just cut inside of my lines. And again, don't worry if you don't have a perfectly straight line, because this is going to be on the back side of the frame. Nobody's going to be seeing it. You just got to make sure you don't cut it too small, because then it won't fit on the back side. 2 more sides and we're going to get this show on the road. Oop, I'm getting a little out of whack there, but I'm going to still be okay. And last side. Okay, get that off of there too. All right, scissors aside, scraps, get them out of the way. There, and now we have the canvas, and I'm actually going to be doing my stenciling on the back side of the canvas. So this is the side that was showing when it's attached. Let me bring the other piece over. So this is the same as what's showing. So if you're actually a painter or something, you know, you would paint on this side. But I'm stenciling on the back side, which is this side right here. Now, I'm going to set that aside a second, get my mat out here. Again, this is an ink mat, but it's gonna be so nice to have it to work with because it holds your piece right in place. So I'm gonna set my canvas. Make sure I've got the side that I want to work on this way. Okay. And this is going to stick very nicely. And this tool, it's a big scraper squeegee for doing large stencils and that, but what I found is it's really nice for working with fabric too, because I don't want this to have any air bubbles in the fabric or anything, so I'm just going to squeegee it across so it's nice and tight on here, and I'm going to squeegee down too. I feel like I'm washing windows. All right, now this is again the stencil I'm going to use. Be the person your dog thinks you are. And I haven't opened this, so I'm gonna just open it up and I'm gonna show you how to use the stencils. Oop. And this, again, this is a sticky mat. Let's put my tool back away before I end up cutting myself. Now what I wanna do is find out what area I have to work with, because I don't have this whole canvas to work with, because remember, this frame is going to be covering the front of this. So the area I have to work with the stencil is what's inside of the frame. So I'm gonna leave that there while I cut up my stencil. And the nice thing about these stencils is that each one gives you cut guides. So I'm gonna cut out the dog, and I'm just gonna cut straight across, because I'm gonna use him or her, whatever kind of dog you have. Our dog's names are Rock and Josie, Black Lab and a Snow Lab. So that's gonna go in here. This canvas might actually not be big enough for all of my words. Well, let's see. I might have to stencil this first and then come back in and overlay the words. Let's take a look. One way or the other, I'm gonna make it work on this size. And you know, these canvases you can buy 8 by 10 all the way up to, I don't know, big ones. So you can do really big stencils on this. So I want it up here to say, be the person your dog thinks you are. And it'll work once I get the dog stenciled in. So what I'm gonna do is just make sure I've got this kind of centered on this canvas. Okay, and I'm gonna start with the dog. And I'm gonna try to, let's see, be the person, your dog. He's gonna have to come down a little bit like that. And then I'm gonna tuck that down, thinks you are. Okay, I think this will work. We'll find out. But I'm gonna put my stencil right here. About, I don't know, 1.5 inches from the bottom. Oops. And these are easy. You just peel them off, hold on to this because you wanna put your stencil back on that when you're done. So I'm gonna look for about 1.5 inches from the bottom and try to center it. You can use tape. Chalk Couture has tape that you can put on pieces too to make sure you're getting it where you want it to be. I use it on larger pieces. Smaller pieces, I normally just eyeball. So I'm gonna start with the dog. I'm gonna put that frame aside, and I'm gonna use this squeegee again because I want to get all air bubbles out of this stencil. And again, these are silk screens, so they do a really good job on transferring. And they're reusable. You can use them, they say 10 to 15 times. If you take really good care of them, I just had a screw fall out and it wasn't out of my head. If you take really good care of your stencils, they'll last you. They're really nice. They're easy to clean up just with your thumb and fingers underwater. I keep a pan of water next to me here, so when I'm done stenciling this, I just put the stencil in there to soak. So I'm gonna just do this one more time because I want to make sure. Okay. All right, now for the color of the dog, I am going to do this teal color. So let's open it up and we're gonna stir it up, get it all mixed up really good. And once it's done with this, I am just gonna put some on here, and you're gonna find out a little of this goes a long way. And when I scrape it off of the stencil, it's coming right back into this jar, so there's no waste. Okay, that looks good. So I'm gonna just put some on the stencil, and just a little bit more, I think. And set this aside up here. And I'm gonna use this squeegee, and I'm just going to start squeegeeing this onto the stencil. And I'm not squeegeeing yet, I'm just really moving the chalk around to cover up all of the stencil. So once I do that, then I will squeegee it off and we'll take the stencil off. And it's funny, this color is exactly the same color as the background on these stencils. Alright, so I'm going to start, and all I do is just use a little bit of firm pressure and squeegee it like you do with windows. And this excess, you just take and put it right back in your jar. So again, there's no waste on this. Again, scrape it off of here. And I want to just one more time, I want to go from one way to the other. I like to go vertically and horizontally on these. There's really nothing more to scrape off. I just want to make sure I've covered all of the elements of the stencil. So let's set that aside and let's undo the stencil. And the thing with these stencils too, you don't want to stretch them, so you want to pull them straight down or straight across. Don't pull them at a diagonal. So we'll remove it. Oh, look how cute he is. Oh, I'll show you this. And I'm just putting that stencil over there in water. But look at how detailed the design is. And let me move this out of the way so I can get you a little closer shot. How cute is that? All right. Now, I'm going to get rid of my paste that I just used and get the other color out. Now, one thing, when I'm going to have to now go on top of this stencil to get all the wording in, I want to make sure that the chalk is dry on here because I don't want to damage the chalk I've already put on here. So I can either sit here and wait for it to happen, or I can blow it dry. It doesn't take long for this to dry, so I didn't bring my hair blower down because I didn't know I was going to have to go over the thing, but I'm going to just look at this and see. I might not have to. If I go underneath this there and then go underneath the stencil, we'll come back for Thinks You Are. Let's do this part first. Okay, so we can fit all of this stencil right up on the top. So let's do that. Let's put that one on. Kind of about, oh, I don't know, an inch down, I guess it looks like. And let me peel the stencil off. And, oh, and here's the thing too. Make sure that your stencils don't get stuck together. If that happens to you, just go rinse them in a sink with water and get it unstuck. Okay, so there's the wording, be the person, your dog. And let's take our squeegee again, get all the air bubbles out. This is really key to your crisp lettering, and that is making sure there are no air bubbles. So I'm very fussy about this. We want everything to look nice and crisp from a lettering standpoint and when you're working with designs. Okay. All right, and I'm going to do the Peachy Keen for that lettering. And that's another nice thing about Chalk Couture. There are so many different colors that you can use. It's unlimited the kind of designs you can make and make them your own because of all the different colors. Some of the inks are glitter inks, which I've used on the pillows and that. And just a nice way to be able to personalize colors, you know, especially if you're doing it for a room in your house and you have a certain color scheme. I'll guarantee you will find a color in Chalk Couture that works for your color scheme. So I'm just getting this all mixed up, and it's not going to take a lot for this. So let's just dab some on, and this should probably be enough right here. So let me set that aside and get me another squeegee here, because I threw my other one into the water to soak. And let's move this around. And now, like I said, I'm not squeegeeing right now, I'm just moving the ink around to cover up the entire stencil. And I have to stand up a little bit because I like to kind of stand over my work as I'm doing it. Makes it easier for me to see what I've got on here. Okay. All right, so now we can start squeegeeing, but first I'm going to get rid of the excess. Get rid of the excess. Right back into the jar, no waste. And then I just want to go up and down a little bit just to make sure I've got everything covered. And one more time across. And let's see what we've got going here. Get it up on a corner here. And I'm going to take it from the left side over to the right. There we go. Be the person, your dog. We've got that much done. I'll show you this. I'm just putting that stencil over into the water here. Let's see, can you see that? And then we need to do the last part. That seems like it's dry right here, so I think I can go ahead and set my frame back on here. Get it where it's supposed to be so I know what I have to work with. I see a couple little spots. I should have done a little bit harder squeegee on it up on the lettering. It's no big deal, but I can go back and touch that up too. I could lay the stencil back down. I'm going to put this right there. Okay, take this off. So I'm going to put my stencil about 3/4 of an inch from the bottom up. Take it off of here. Kind of center it with the other lettering up there. 3/4 up. Looks about right. And I'm going to squeegee that again. Don't want any air bubbles in here. All right, and let's continue with our peachy keen and put a little bit on here. That should be plenty. Take my squeegee, move it around, cover up all the letters. I like a little bit smaller squeegee for this size, but I didn't have that sitting out here by me, so I'm going to use this one. Okay, get rid of the excess, right back into the jar, and now let's squeegee the letters. And you can see when I say it doesn't take much ink, it doesn't take much ink to do these, or in this case, chalk. Either way, they don't take much of the product at all. Okay. And I'm gonna just kind of cup this a little bit because it's a small surface. And I don't want to get any onto the canvas outside here. I think that looks pretty good. We'll find out. Reveal it. Oh yeah. Yep. See if you can see all that. Be the kind of dog. Be the person your dog thinks you are, not be the kind of dog. So now what we would do is paint the frame, and then this is going to get framed like this. So you can see how it assembles back together. Let's see if I can lift this up a little bit.